Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 31st, 2022, so it's Halloween. And so one of the things I do between Halloween and Thanksgiving is I get the garlic and shallots in their respective beds. Now I've always done it up front in the third food forest, in the beds that we had up there, but this year we decided to change things up some. So this is a sort of a combination of, all right, so what's the plan and what's the status of the gardens and all. So we're starting over here in the western garden plot. It's not sunny at all day today. It's cool, a little breezy, and overcast. But here recently, I think we posted a video showing that we got all of our transplants in that we wanted to get into this garden. These are the thornless, triple crown, and Chester semi-erect blackberry plants. We don't have supports up yet, we don't have drip tape down yet, and we don't have the weed mats down. These rows are 5 feet apart. These are 2.5 to 3 feet apart. Some places maybe less than two foot apart as well. So that's the thornless blackberry plants that we've got here. Here are the 3 rows of the blueberry plants that we started from little cuttings and all a couple of years ago. We purchased the cuttings. Then over here are the 2 rows of the blueberry plants that we had out in the first food forest that we dug up. We made videos about that, and then cleaning the root systems and then transplanting them into these 2 beds here and doing the bed prep with the peat moss and the ammonium sulfate. And we did all the 3 videos on repairing our fencing system and expanding this garden plot out a little bit more. And around the side here are the honeyberries. Jim, if you're watching, I have posted videos in the past. If you look at some of the garden updates from this summer, Thea shows some of the honeyberries from here. They're a lot like blueberries. They're a little bit elongate. In my opinion, they don't taste quite as good as blueberries, but they are very good. We have them in our oatmeal in the morning. They're delicious. And we propagated these from, I think, 4 plants. That 1 died and we got down to 3. And I propagated them, and then we did a second video on propagating them by simple layering and mounding techniques. And here we are today. So we just did a couple of videos on digging these up. These were in this location. We dug them up, we cleaned the root systems up, we divided them, and we planted them all along the border here in the western garden plot. No drip tape down for them yet. Half of the weed mat is there from underneath the fencing. We've got more room to walk around in here. So there's a lot that will be done next spring in this area here to get everything set for next season. But just wanted to give you an update on where we are with our gardens as we get over to the eastern garden plot in a couple of minutes here. So the central garden plot, so where we grew red onions, these were the banana peppers, the tomato plants, broccoli, 2 different types of kale, premier kale, and our red Russian kale. And then after we harvest them, we put in cover crops. So the cover crops are doing extremely well. Let's see. So there's a daikon radish there. Hopefully you can see it there. And if we get those, when we put these cover crop seeds in, we put them past the summer solstice. So one of the good things about getting them in past the summer solstice, those radishes don't bolt right away. So this actually turned out really, really well. Would I have loved to have gotten these cover crops in a little bit earlier? These 2 here, these are all the same seed mixes in these beds. So we got wheat, we got mustard, we got clover, we got vetch, we got daikon radish. I think we got a couple of different clovers, a couple of vetches, and so on. And these and the wheat, and there may be rye in here as well. So each one of these did extremely well. Oh, I could see another daikon here at the end of this one. So all of these things are going to break down in the soil and just contribute and feed all of the microorganisms. So all of that root mass, all of that material in this soil is going to feed all the microorganisms, feeding them so that next year they're going to feed all of the plants in this garden. The other benefit is, now it's cold out here right now. Excuse me. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if you can see, there's a honeybee right here. I don't know if that's showing up. Oh, there's a small wasp. So this is a beneficial wasp right here. So one of the things that really keeps our pests under control are all of these beneficial insects, and they help out with pollinating all of our trees in our food forest and some of the trees in our native forest as well. And of course, many of the trees are wind pollinated as well. So, okay, what do we have here? Oh, I just scared that bumblebee. I mean that honeybee, but here's a bumblebee right here. I'm hoping I'm not getting the camera too close so it's not all blurry. So that's the central garden plot. Now the central garden plot, although right now it looks like the weed mats are just in the paths, but remember these weed mats go right up tight to the plants that we only do single rows of plants in these garden plots, with the exception of we had the blue flesh potatoes, I think, in this bed here. So that worked out extremely well. Really happy with the cover crops that we've been using. Now we're over to the eastern garden plot. Recently Thea harvested all of the scarlet red runner beans that were in this trellis here. I mean, there's still some around in here. We never get them all, but they will all help to increase fertility and feed the microorganisms in the soil here as time goes on. Now I think what I'm going to do, so what we did over in this area, we did not use weed mats for the first time over in this area, and we rebuilt this garden design layout in the springtime. So there's a whole bunch of videos on that. And the other thing we tried doing was planting clover and chamomile as a ground cover over the paths and all. And we had lots of weeds and all throughout the season. However, if we look at the area now, you can see there's lots of chamomile and clover all throughout the area in here. But it doesn't go all the way down the paths there so well. Probably because of the shade of the honey locust tree that's right here. But out in the open, the clover although it's a slow emerging seed, so it did eventually, it eventually went ahead and developed a decent root system, and they look pretty good right now. So I was thinking about totally trashing it and just going with weed mats again, and that's probably what we will do, but I'm not certain at this point. But as you can see, the garden beds, now we had corn and soybeans over in that long, sorry, just trying to get the camera set, in this long bed right here. And here we had, I think these two were beans, and that was jalapeno peppers, and the one with the cover crop there is the russet potatoes. Actually, I didn't look down here to see how the radishes are doing down here. Probably can't see very, oh dang it, Kevin. Let's see if we can get a different one, a different angle. Looks like most of the radishes are on the edges around here. So they're much smaller, these, I'm going to turn the camera down. Much smaller, about the size of my finger or my thumb. There's my thumb there, I don't know if you could see this, I'm trying to show them. But you can see lots of the vetch in here. And I believe this is wheat in here. I don't think this is rye. I think this is wheat. And there's clover mixed in with this as well. So the other beds that are over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, did not have cover crop mixed in with them. And if I were to do this again, I would mix in the cover crop after the crop has really started taking off. And I do nitrogen fixers, low level, maybe vetch, maybe clover, maybe some brassicas as well. Something that doesn't get too tall too quickly. So those are my thoughts with these if I were to try this again. And I may try it again in the future, but I probably won't do it this coming season. But you could see lots of weeds, lots of grasses that took off over in here in the beds. So what I just got done doing was pulling up the 6-inch galvanized staples that hold the drip tape down. I'm going to pull this back from these 4 beds. Then I'm going to use my Ego weed whacker to go over the surface of where all these grasses and weeds are at the surface here and just chop those off. And yes, that'll just distribute all the seeds as well. But one of the challenges, should finish my thought process here. With these beds, these 3 here, I may be able to use just the garden tilther down here to disrupt the root systems on these ones in the center of the beds, because one of the things I'd like to do, not today, maybe tomorrow or the next day, is get garlic and our Dutch red shallots over here. And we don't need, I mean, they're so prolific, the Dutch red shallots. This shorter bed may be just fine for those. And our garlic, we always produce more of these things than what we consume in a couple of years. But I think about putting the garlic in this bed, which isn't quite as long as this one, or they're about the same length. But one of the challenges here is I have the corn. So these are really tough buggers here. And I don't think that my tilther will deal with this. I'm going to try it potentially. So I'm going to pull the drip tapes back. And then try the tilther down in here, but remove the drip tapes first, run the tilther down these beds after I run the weed whacker down here, and see how it takes. My plan is to use some of the compost from out and back on the 2 beds that I choose for using the garlic and for the shallots, top dressing them with the compost, which has weed seeds in it because it wasn't thermophilically composted, so the seeds are still viable from all the tomatoes and peppers and all those things that we composted, and weeds. So weed seeds will be in this, but if we use the fresh compost on the surface here, then I'm not doing full tilling and damaging the soil structure down here, and be able to plant since the garlic and the shallots go into it shallowly, and then coming up with a cover crop to put over, a mulch to put over them as well. So that's my thought process. We can take a walk around the rest of the way while I'm here. The black-eyed Susans did very well. Lots of volunteer lemon balm down in here. There's the black-eyed Susans all along in here, and we have the is this Roman or German chamomile? I'm getting confused right now. Then we have the sweet potato bed over here that we got a really good supply of sweet potatoes from this bed. And I took some compost, put it on the top of it, raked it out, and took the little bit of winter rye seed that we did have remaining. And it looks like if we get a couple more warm days and we get some rain, we potentially will get some rain tomorrow. Hopefully we do. That will help out with the winter rye. And I haven't transplanted the strawberries yet. I'm behind on all my projects, and I haven't weeded this bed. But recently, I went down and did a quick stir hoe down in here, and these are the extra shoots. So when blackberry plants and raspberry plants send up their first shoots every season, so these shoots will be the primocanes. They shoot up from the root mass, and some of them, when we're doing all our work with them, they just sort of like popped off. But they have the stem cells, the meristem cells that are in those components that are pluripotential. In other words, they don't have to develop into just lengthening the stalks that are coming up, the shoots that are coming up. They can actually have the potential of creating roots as well. So by cutting them, it stimulates the auxins production, so hopefully that did some. But it's late in the season, it's when it's dormant, so this is a trial. I also stuck in over here some honeyberry hardwood cuttings. I don't have any hope for success for those over there this winter. No rooting hormones were used at all. So I guess that's about it with our update with the gardens, to give you an idea of where we're at. And I'll try and test out and see just what we can do with those beds in the eastern garden plot that we just came from, that we did not use weed mats this season. We just used clover and chamomile on the paths, and we grew corn and beans and a whole variety. What else do we do? The jalapenos and all. We're going to try and prep those beds, weed whack them, then get them ready for planting garlic and shallots over there. 2 beds we'll do that in. So that's it for today's video. I hope that this is somewhat helpful. I want to give some sort of continuation of how things are going and how things have progressed over the season, and what my assessment is as we progress through the seasons, because this is all in a process of evolving over time, my interpretation based on how successful things are, the timing of getting the cover crops on, trying living paths, for example, and trying the different mixes of the cover crops, and going without doing any tilling and seeing how successful our crops are. So far, I don't see any big blunders with what we've done so far, with the exception of the weeds getting out of control in this garden plot here, the eastern garden plot where I just showed. So more learning objectives before us, and we'll figure this out hopefully by the time I pass away. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. If you found this video of value, give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. It helps other people see our channel. If you want to share the video with others, that's great as well. And I hope you folks stay safe. And we are in Zone 5A in Central New York, in case you're new to the channel and didn't know where we are. Take care, folks, and stay safe. Bye-bye now.